This is my dad's 2001 Toyota Tacoma. Should you buy one of these first generation Tacomas? Let's find out. What if you want the utility of a truck, but you want something that's easy to park and easy to drive? What if you want to be a bit frugal and buy something used? Chances are you might want a compact truck. And what if you want something that has a reputation for stellar reliability? Chances are you might want a Tacoma. This first-gen Tacoma was introduced in 1995 and was considered a sales success. It underwent a couple facelifts and lasted until 2004. This 2001 model was the second cosmetic facelift of this truck. And even though this particular truck is 18 years old, it still looks pretty nice. All Tacomas until about 2004 were built in Fremont, California in the NUMMI factory, the joint operation of Toyota and General Motors. You might remember that I own two other cars that were built in this same factory. Speaking of California, my parents are getting ready to move from their home here in frigid Massachusetts and head out to California. Even though my dad loves this truck, he's gonna sell it before they move. Since he's going to be selling it soon, I figured I'd spend a little bit of time with this truck and figure out what makes it so special. Alright, so this Tacoma is the extra cab. It's got the 150 horsepower 2.7 liter 4-cylinder engine. And as expected, it runs just like new. This one has the 5-speed manual transmission. And no, this truck is not quick by any stretch of the imagination, but it's got enough power to get you out of your own way. And enough power if you need to load up the back with a bunch of crap and haul it around. We just hauled almost 1,000 pounds of lumber back there, and it did it without any problems at all. Four-wheel drive Tacomas of this generation could be had with a more powerful 3.4 liter V6. The two-wheel drive trucks also came with the 2.4 liter 4-cylinder. This one right here with a 2.7 liter 4-cylinder is a decent middle ground. It gets slightly better gas mileage than the V6. But mind you, it's not great gas mileage. The EPA rated it at 18 miles per gallon with this 5-speed manual. The ride quality is about what you might expect for an 18-year-old truck. It's a bit bouncy and it's got kind of a light feeling rear end, but overall the handling's fine for an older truck and for a truck that's got a decent amount of ground clearance. If you're looking at used first-gen Tacomas, you might want to take a look at the springs. They can often be worn out on higher mileage trucks. Speaking of things to check before buying, you should absolutely take a look at the frame. Yes, the frame. Why is that? Let me show you. Yep, this was one of the Tacomas that had the entire frame replaced by Toyota under warranty. Yes, the entire frame was removed and a new one was swapped in. Several years ago, it had catastrophic rust. The dealer wouldn't even allow my dad to drive the truck home. Hundreds of thousands of Tacoma frames had design flaws from the factory that caused them to be overly susceptible to rusting through. Some trucks were bought back, some frames were treated, and some were replaced entirely. The recall cost the company millions of dollars. Since this truck has spent its entire life in Massachusetts, enduring hard winters and icy roads coated with salt, even this new and improved frame has shown some rust, but not anywhere near as bad as it was before the recall. And surprisingly, the only other rust is a few small bubbles right here and a little bit on the rear bumper. If you're considering a Tacoma of this generation, and especially if you live in a cold weather state, make sure you get under this truck and do a thorough inspection before you plunk down some cash on it. If you're lucky, the frame might have been replaced. Okay, I am so cold, my fingers are about ready to fall off. Let's go inside this truck and take a look at this interior and turn the heat on. The interior is in pretty good shape, but it has a decidedly late 90s, early 2000s vibe going on in here. It's also a bit more Spartan than modern trucks. Check this out, CD player and a tape player. Oh, and look at this fun Toyota relic of the past. A keyed switch to turn on and off the passenger airbag. Anyone that's owned this generation Tacoma likely remembers this. Oh, and you probably also remember this silly pull handle e-brake that Toyota has been using for years. One other odd thing about this car is the location of the clock. Where is that clock? Oh yeah, right there behind the steering wheel where nobody can see it. But overall, there's not really much to complain about in here. It's a Toyota, so the ergonomics are great, except for that clock, and it's comfortable. Well, at least here in the front seat. Let's talk about this back seat here for a second. There's not much space back here in this extra cab, just these tiny jump seats that fold down and anger any adult that gets crammed back here. But at least it does allow the front seats to recline a fair amount. These trucks have a reputation for being incredibly reliable, but since many of these are over 20 years old now, you probably want to look for one that has good maintenance records. They're old enough that you'll likely have to set aside some cash to replace some worn items. Some things you might want to check are the leaf springs, check the ball joints, check for leaks around the water pump and the valve cover gasket. And if you're looking at a V6 truck, make sure to check the timing belt. They should have been replaced at 90,000 miles, but maybe it was changed, maybe it wasn't. The 4-cylinder trucks have a timing chain, so you don't have to worry about a belt with these. These are all non-interference engine designs, so nothing will get damaged if the belt does break, but it sucks to get stranded with something that's easy to tell if it's damaged. Any 20-year-old vehicle will likely need some money thrown at it, but with the exception of the frame, most common issues are relatively easy projects with readily available parts. Parts are usually reasonably priced and easy to find. I'd argue that this generation Tacoma is the perfect size truck. Newer Tacomas seem to have grown in size and feel almost as big as the first generation Tundras. This first generation Tacoma still feels like a small truck that's easy to maneuver around town and when parking. There's something really nice about a used compact pickup truck. They're perfect for bombing down dirt roads. They're old enough that you're not quite so worried about scratching them up, and small enough that they can fit on tight trails but still be very capable machines. Sure, this area right here is pretty easy terrain for this Tacoma to handle, but at least I've found some place where there's no pavement. There's a lot of aftermarket support for this truck, so there's plenty of opportunity to beef up some components and go off-roading more regularly. Okay, let's talk price. This is where everything might not exactly add up in the Tacoma's favor. These things often command insanely high prices on the used market, especially the 4-wheel drive versions. I've seen rusty Northeast Tacomas listed for $3,000 to $5,000 on Craigslist. In Los Angeles, nice rust-free examples are commanding between $3,000 for a high-mileage 2-wheel drive truck and upwards of $15,000 for a low-mile 4-wheel drive truck. Insanity! Yes, some of those asking prices may be a bit optimistic and the actual selling price might be a bit lower. And there are deals out there, but they're kind of hard to find. So, are these prices worth it? Like most things, it depends. The Tacoma's practical size and reputation for reliability is likely what drives these values. I certainly wouldn't pay $15,000 for a 20-year-old Tacoma, but if I could find a 4-wheel drive version with about 150,000 miles that was in good condition and was maintained well for about $5,000, sure, absolutely. But there are other options out there. First-generation Tundras offer more space and power, and they're often less expensive than Tacomas. Nissan Frontiers are usually less expensive than Tacomas, and they offer decent reliability as well. I think the Tacoma's perceived reliability pushes the asking prices a bit beyond what they should be. If you're looking to purchase a first generation Tacoma, this is one of those vehicles that probably requires a little bit of a longer search to make sure that you're not overpaying. This first generation Tacoma is old enough to be a bit of a throwback truck. A throwback to a time when compact trucks still were actually compact. These Tacomas are simple, a bit plain, extremely utilitarian, and they're not pretending to be anything other than a truck. Whether you're looking for a simple two-wheel drive Tacoma to haul landscaping materials, or a four-wheel drive truck to get you through the snow, or use as a basis for a weekend off-road exploration truck, it's hard to go wrong with a first generation Tacoma. They're insanely capable, incredibly practical, and yes, very reliable. Take some time with your used Tacoma search, try not to overpay, and you just might find yourself an excellent compact truck that will likely keep running for a very long time. Thanks so much for watching. Please consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon so you can be notified of my new and used car reviews, travel videos, and updates on my fleet of weird vehicles. See you later. And will you look at that? A nice Massachusetts snowstorm to end off this video. All right, I'm getting back in this truck because as a Californian, I like how this looks. It's very pretty, but this sucks.